Hello everybody. This session will be about disease and sanitation in underground shelters. We know only too well after the COVID virus exactly what little microorganisms can actually do. But one of the things that happens in disasters is with lack of water, lack of sanitation, is there are diseases that are common like hepatitis, typhoid fever, cholera, scurvy, and vitamin D deficiency, and a number of others. These are just some of the basics. So these all have to be addressed, but they're usually addressed by proper sanitation. Here's three systems that are commonly used in shelters. The porta potty thing is short term. It's okay, but it's short term. A marine head is a high lift. These are about $2,000. They do work well, and they last a pretty long time. This actually has a long handle on here. This will pump up about 30 feet. You still have to replace the gaskets and the bellows down here, but it's a good system. It's used on ships. The best system I found is still a 110 volt sewer lift station with a toilet. A regular conventional toilet is mounted right here. You can also mount a camper toilet on there, but and that's fine. That'll use a lot less water. But this is a great lift station, and it only works for a couple seconds, and you can get 1/3 horse, half horse, 3/4, 1 horse, whatever lift and you want to have. There's the lift pump is in here. It'll pump the sewage up. There's a return here for air. This is the best system I found for long term. And sewage tanks. This is a standard conventional 2-compartment system that's used in all the houses. It's important to use this, in my experience, because this meets the local building codes. If you're going to get into trouble in underground shelters, there's two areas: electrical and septic. And the septic part of it, if you're meeting the current sanitation code with a 1,000-gallon tank, either single or dual compartment, you should be able to stay out of trouble with the local officials if they're involved in this at all. But this is still a really good system. Sludge stays down here. The overflow goes over. If there's any sludge left in it, that'll go down here. You've got some scum on the top, which you need because this is anaerobic digestion, and then the effluent goes out to a leach field. The septic tanks that are out there, this is the better one. These don't take any real overpressure. They can take 3 feet of soil. You have to put some collars on here. They can take 3 feet of soil, but that's about it. Sometimes in some of the other designs, they get creep. So you might start out with a 1,000-gallon tank, but a year or two down the road, you might have a 700-gallon tank. So that's one of the things I don't like about this. Even if you backfill it and compact it, these things creep a little bit. So they're not good enough for military or corporate shelters. I usually use a fiberglass tank that's designed for the overpressure, 3 or 4 feet on top, and a leach chamber system here. And you can inspect this and check. Well, this is a regular system for a house, but that's actually what you have with a long-term shelter. The other thing that's interesting is you can get these hand wash units. These are really good. They do a great job. You just have to pour in hot water, and you do one piece of clothing at a time. This is how I used to do shelters years ago with a little sink here. What I do now is I use a commercial prep sink. This is much bigger. If you have any little dogs, you can put them in here too, which is always an issue in these shelters. But this is a great way to do it. You can get them where they're mounted on the wall or they're suspended on some legs. And another good thing is you can fit 5-gallon buckets under here if you get the right faucet. The other issue is you have to store toilet paper. And And what I did, I did a test with 40-year-old women, and I asked them to keep track of what they're using. And this is what we came out with. It seems like a lot to me, but this is what we came up with. So this is some way of estimating what if you want to stay down there for a year, how many rolls of toilet paper you need for each person. If you got men in there, young children, it'll be less. But this is the worst case. And the modern hygiene, you're supposed to have running water, even if it's tank water, with a water filter and so on. So you would want to continue to practice normal good hygiene for foods, for diapering children, using toilet, doing all the things that you normally do. So I always try and make the shelter operate normally like a house. There's nothing foreign. And the clothes in the shelter, it seems like to be a minor point, but one of the issues that we've had is with ties. I noticed all these experts on COVID and all, they're sitting there with their ties. Ties are really dirty, and they're not allowed in the European medical field. But what happens with ties is they never get washed. You're touching them all the time with your hand. You sit down, they're leaning against the counter. And if you put an ATP tester on there, which is what we did, they are dirtier than the bottom of a shoe. Yet no one on CNN or any of these places brought that up. But just be aware. You don't want anybody in the shelter that's wearing a tie, or that has their pants, their heels on their pants dragging on the ground. Leave your shoes outside. If you have a purse, wipe the bottom of it clean. Use your hand sanitizer like we're all sick of doing. The hair weave that women wear, my wife wears that too. They tie this in and sew it and bolt it or whatever they do. And you got to make sure that you clean that too. So those are some of the basics. It goes into a lot more detail in POP.